Okay. How's everybody going? Last talk of the day, so we're almost there. There'll be some prizes at the end. There's been some really good talks that I hope everybody has enjoyed. As we getting some of our friends from next door coming to join us, I'll just introduce a little bit about myself and what we're going to talk about today. So, yep. Okay. Now, there has been a lot of talk about AI, how AI works, how to use it, but I thought I will have a look a little bit of more around how would you decode quality engineering or quality with human insights in this age of AI. So to do that, I wanted to bring you into a journey of myself. Not that I like to bring too much emphasis on me, but again, it's humanity. So I'm Alejandro, or you can call me AJ for short. I help teams engineer quality. I help them advocate for quality, and I'm currently the head of engineer of quality and observability at DevOps One. Now, for those ones that don't know or can't pick from my accent, I came in 2020 Olympics game. Hopefully 2032 will be again, but I don't think I'll come. I'll do a big travel. But I'm from Colombia. And I came to, study, learn English, do my degree here, and enjoy the beautiful city of Sydney. When I first came to Australia, I did some different jobs, and it was quite eye-opening on how friendly Australia people were, and people that were coming to Australia talk to you and are really relaxed, which I quite enjoy, and that's one of the reasons I stay here. I did my university degree in information technology, and then through my uni degrees, I work at different retail shops. I did various kind of jobs, and around 2020, I had a big set of hair, which you won't see today. After I left university, I actually got a job at selling mobile phones before the smartphone. And then went through kind of learning the technology that it was involved into doing this, got into testing, and I was doing very manual testing work, and continued through there learning automation tools, risk mitigation, performance, and alike. And now we're closer to 2020, and I think that's when I started wearing a hat. I haven't taken off my hat for around 4 years. Well, maybe not 4 years, but if you see me, you'll see the hat. And since then, I've been really an advocate for quality engineering, and it's all about how to engineer capabilities that help you define and understand quality. So before we go through a little bit of why all of this makes sense, I wanted to explore a little bit of the past. Now, Industrial Revolution, and I know I'm going very, very, very far back, steam machines changed the way that industries and pretty much our day-to-day lives change. An interesting fact, as I'm helping my son do a little bit of studies around the Industrial Revolution in history, in Europe, a lot of the cities change, or actually were created. So if you think about London as it looks today, if you look at London in 1784, it would have been a completely different place, right? Steam machines and production lines brought a lot of people into cities. It brought a lot of people into getting a lot of this work. And this is even before a lot of the kind of human rights were really built properly for us to be working into this environment. Now, I don't want to go too much into the Industrial Revolution, but what I want to depict is to show you a little bit of the rapid progression of what these revolutions do. If you look at steam machines and the first Industrial Revolution, within 100 years, it created new cities. It created new ways of how things will happen. It kind of was the introduction of how globalization will start to happen in the years to come. Electricity and electronics started to come closer to 1900, and again, another 100 years to leap. So you think about the planes, the rockets, cars and alike come around that space. And now we're starting to look around closer to the 2000s, and with the technology that came, computers, supercomputers and alike, a lot of things started to really rapidly accelerate of how we deliver value or how things are done And now we look at the fourth revolution of IoT, AI, and a more interconnected way of how we live. But regardless of all of that, even though the technology is there, it is very centric to human. It is very people-centric on regards to when you think about quality. When you think about a product, it's not a machine buying another machine. It's actually a person buying a product, a person buying a service. Through all of this process, you look at quality has changed. So from Adam commenting around from quality controls to quality assurance. Then you look at tests, like total quality management in the US. You look at agile, DevOps, and alike. And it just accelerates the way that we do work. But still, if you go to the retail shop or you shop online, you're buying a product for yourself or your loved ones. If you go to a restaurant, the machine might be cooking you the pizza, but you're still consuming the pizza. Therefore, the quality perception still is subjective to what you like. Some people might like meat in their pizza, other people like vegetarian. So it's very subjective, and regardless of what it needs to happen, it's not a machine looking at that. So what are my early days of testing, or how I was impacted? Fun fact, I used to do door-to-door sales, Foxtel. So I would have been that friendly person that come and said, would you like to buy a Foxtel service? Before the iPhone, I bought those Nokia 1100. I love those ones. You could drop them in a beer, then put them in rice, and they still work. Try to do that with your smartphone today. Might not work. So, selling mobile phones. And I started to get into a bit more technical work when I started to do back office. So that person that you call and sometimes said, I need my phone to work today, that would have been some of me answering the calls or some of me trying to fix your services for you today. Now, what that brought is a lot of perception or understanding of how quality affects our day-to-day. It is all about the personas of the person going to sell you a product, or the person helping you to get your service back up, or the person trying to get your iPhone to work or to be able to, in the old days, connect to the WAP and be able to look at Facebook those days, or even how to help you send text messages again. That was my early experience of how I could bring quality into the way that we work. So I wanted to do a little bit of gauge of everybody. It's 4, something close to 5, and I'm sure everybody's sleeping, so we'll get everybody moving a bit. But who remember texting when the phones had a digit and 3 letters in their phone? Yeah? Yeah, okay. Who remembers the transition on when you got your first smartphone and you only had music, right? So I think I know that most of you, if you were texting back then in the 3 digits and getting very quick on your thumbs, I probably don't need to continue through that. But that journey that took you into doing all of that had some backbone into how it needed to work. So one of the things that I learned from the past is trying to understand from my from my door-to-door sales, from my retail experience, the understanding of customer sentiments and needs. It is critical for quality to understand what a customer needs and wants. The ability for the person that is going to be providing that service or that capability, for them to be able to do it easily and be able to innovate into the way that they're able to kind of help you through it. And also ensure that, we saw the Optus issue and everything like that, right? Configurations need to work properly and things that you don't think are keeping us interconnected, but they are. So it's the importance of how the back support of a lot of these systems, either by computers or ourselves, is involved. So, trying to take you into the journey of where I started in quality. So this is a really nifty graph that I saw around all of the different quality processes that started from 1930s. And as you can see, it just incremented and exponentially increased the way that you do technology or you need to do quality to. This incorporates tools, processes, conferences like this, and alike. I started quality there. So there was a lot of historical way of how quality was done, risk management and alike. And I had to learn a lot of these and then more. And things continue to change. So a lot of the hype back when I started my journey of quality engineer or a tester, it was the hype of automation. The hype of automation was around, well, we have all of these people doing manual work. I had to go to the Optus data center to test that the new protocol for SMS was working, and I had to do that manually. I couldn't just have a device there because I had to go into and do it manually. But there were other things that I was able to do when I started to experience the digital experience of how does a website or how do a person purchase a phone. I could do that more automated. But even through there, if I look at how tools have evolved over the last 10 years, just alone Node.js. And even before Node.js, I used Ruby. Before Ruby, I used Visual Studio and C#, so that shows my age. But nowadays, everything comes much easier. New tools come into the market, and really it's overwhelming to understand what is the right thing that I need to use to be able to validate or give me feedback for quality. So the key parts that I learned from the past, where I needed to upskill myself with technical skill sets to be able to use my experience and my humanity to understand and interpret this feedback. I had to be able to ask the right questions. So similar to Adam and early in the panel when they were talking about AI into the way that we do, is asking the right questions. How the changes might impact not only individuals that are consuming, but personalize and look at through the whole system how it's impacting the person, the system, and alike. And again, share my knowledge, because as much as I was able to do things efficiently, I couldn't do it at scale if I was doing it myself. So I had to share my knowledge and be able that people that were passionate about quality be able to understand my concept, because again, I couldn't virtualize myself. I know we were talking about digital twins early in the session today. I don't think we're there yet, but I can't clone myself, so we need people to be as passionate as ourselves. So we look now to the present, on who I am today. The guy with the hat, the guy that comes, talks to you, the guy with experience. I keep talking about quality engineering and not testing, and it's because I'm passionate about the technology part of it, but that's my passion, not necessarily everybody's passion. It's all about how to build those building blocks to get you that feedback and that information faster. How you can do it, and again, fundamental pieces of your cultural mindsets, embedding quality in the right places, building the quality, getting closer to your DevOps practice, and then optimize it to kind of just get a lot of that feedback and be able to do information based on really fast information that comes to you. So I had to explore a little bit of the popular trends of today. Open source and automation is exploded to when I started my working career. We used to have to pay for licenses of the likes of Tosca, the HP ALM and alike to do a lot of the work that we wanted to automate. Automation and open sourcing became huge once everything moved into a digital space. But even then, the digital space continued to change. We look at what Selenium's trend in the Node.js space as one, and it has been flattened, and then these things like Cypress, that might be 2 years ago, the graph of Cypress would have been closer to just down here and increasing, and now Playwright is just going crazy around how close it is getting to the amount of how people are consuming these tools. Quality assistant and quality coach, again, not just the assistants and the coaching conversation, but the roles and diversity. When I started my job, I was a tester, I was a senior tester, I was a test automation engineer, there was test architects and test managers. Now you have quality engineers, you got testers, you got quality coaches, you got SDET. What does any of this mean towards quality and towards what we do? The shift left of DevOps, and I think that's been, before AI, that was the other conversation of, oh, I'm gonna lose my job, because it was the whole concept of you build that you supported, small teams, Spotify, and small startups were able to do things that big companies couldn't do. But again, when you start from a greenfield, it's much easier once compared to when you have legacy systems. But again, it's a devil's play. And now we're onto the hype of Gen AI, low-code, no-code automation solutions supported by AI, and everything is around AI. So we've had maybe 50% of our talks about it. It's been about AI. Other ones has been about API testing and digital experience. But you can see where this is going. It's all about how it can make our job easier, how it can make the job faster, how can AI help us. So before I move on, how many of you have used ChatGPT for your work? Okay. How many of you have used GitHub Copilot or some kind of AWS capability? So you see it's becoming tools, but it's you using that. It's not how many people have seen a system using AI to do the job that you're doing today. No? There we go. So it is still goes back to my early days of a tester. It's about the sentiment of the customer, what they need. It's still the ability to support those products. It's still the backend that supports it, but now we just want to do it faster. Well, not just us, but the business wants to get things out the door in a much frequent, faster way and be able to not break. So quality today is all about value to customer faster. It's all about digital experience as key. I think especially after COVID, it really accelerated the digital expectation of you need to be able to not use cash because the germs spread. You need to be able to shop online because you can't go to the shops. So a lot of that happens through there. But still, innovation and this disruption influence how we behave. How many of you are Apple users? Yeah? Will any of you change to an Android device? No. Right? Yeah. Right. The percentage is lower. How many of you are using Windows machines? Yeah? Would you change to Mac? Maybe, yeah. Right? But still, that innovation will change your behavior. It will change the way that you want to use something just because you see something is doing it better or easier. And there's no escape to it. AI is assistant technology, and that's what is happening today. So how do I see the future of quality? And I think everybody's thinking about that. And think back to that graph where we're looking at 100 years, 50 years, 20 years. So when I look at the future at the moment, I look at the future in what's going to happen in 10 years, because it's going to speed up, it's going to accelerate. So today, 2024, generative AI in digital economy market has around 847 solutions or platforms. Market research has done some information around, okay, so how do they see the projection of this happening and how this is changing? They look at the digital economy alone will be 2,375 platforms and solutions that are going to be supported with a level of AI. And I think we saw it as part of every tool that we're looking at the moment, or every time that we see something in the market, this plugging AI into it. Being HR, being your booking system, being your retail, everything is just coming in, especially in the digital space. Enterprise market is a much slower trend that they've seen, and it's because of the risk mitigation. If you think enterprise, they still got legacy systems, they still got some of the inherent subsystems, mainframes. You can go to insurance companies that are still using mainframe. You can go and see, I remember when I was working on an airline, they were still looking at their weather data to be installed into a floppy disk for them being able to be able to fly. But again, the risk mitigation of taking the floppy disk and putting the Wi-Fi was too risky, so they wouldn't move to something like that. So they take a much slower pace, but as the digital and connectivity of the way that things are interconnected, and the more products get delivered with AI, there's going to be more assisted AI capabilities. It's going to be around the deep learning, Gen AI networks, natural language processing, cloud computer, many other technologies. But not just that, it's also the way that we do work. Now, I had a look at the DevOps space, just because when you look at what a tester, a quality engineer does, and if you think about within your Infinity Loop, we're doing a lot of that DevOps work. Either if you're embedding a framework to deliver things faster, or you're adding automated testing to their pipeline. So it is incorporated in there. Now we look at, now at the moment is 1,735 million in money is being spent towards just now in 2024. That's going to explode to 22. So how does these numbers reflect? So the tools that we get today, or the digital products that we see today, at least 3 times more you'll see in the next 8 to 10 years. DevOps products or testing products or development products, times 13. Enterprise businesses, times 14. It is an exponential amount of tools or services that we'll see. So I wanted to kind of depict it a little bit on, given that we looked a little bit of API testing. Let's say if you're working with 3 tools today to do your API testing, Postman, K6, and Swagger, right? 2024, modern tools, some of them have AI. In 2034, there's going to be, multiply that by 13. What tool will I be able to use? What is it that I should be doing to be able to validate or get my customer experience faster? I don't know if many of you go to a supermarket to buy your groceries, but the sentiment of explosion of offerings to a consumer sometimes is debilitating. When you go and see 6 to 7 different types of white bread, which one do you buy? When you go and see, and there's 60 ways you can eat your tin tuna, which one you're going to choose? So it's going to create complexity and overwhelming, and it's going to go back to the sentiment of, is it innovative? Am I using it? Like, am I using a Mac? Yes. Am I going to still be using a Mac? Probably until they mess up, but yes, I'll still use it. So what tool will solve your problem? Can I consolidate tools? Because it's not going to be that you're going to get 30 new API tools. What is going to happen is some of the tools that were not doing API will start doing API because it's easier for them to implement it. So it's going to be the whole concept of consolidation. Will the new tool be doing the same things? So will tool A, tool B, tool C, tool 30x25 be doing different things, be innovating, or be done to the cost? And again, when you're trying to introduce a tool to an organization, they will always ask you, well, how much is going to cost me? And will you go and say, AI, can you please choose my best automation API tool? Where's going to be the bias? Like, what is going to happen in that decision making? So before we answer those questions, let's park it there, and let's just do a 75-degree turn and look at digital experience and how they're evolving. Now, how many of you remember using Edge 8? Oh, no, not Edge, Internet Explorer 8. Yeah? How many people were still using it to maybe 5 years ago? No? Yeah. I know somebody, so some enterprises were still running some of their old Java 8 systems into Internet Explorer, and they will not get out of Internet Explorer. It's one of the biggest nightmares around progression of technology. But you look at today and you look at Edge. Now, as much as I'm a Mac user, they're starting to pull me out. So I look at, for example, Microsoft Bing. If you look at Microsoft Bing now, you've got the chat component. So it keeps the experience seamless. So I think it was Mark from Canva saying, just embedding an AI, but just giving you a seamless experience that you're just doing the same thing. Still happens in there. You still got the chat component, which is a new experience, so it's telling me all this information of how I can do work in there. But then you have all of these additional plugins where you can actually directly talk to Copilot as a chat. The experience has diversified, and how we're able to look at quality from this side is, well, I know how to look at the page object element of this. I might be able to look at how I can test the sentiment of how the AI is looking at giving me options. But well, how am I going to be testing some of these capabilities that come on the side that we still don't know how they're going to work? Next, there we go. And then we've got voice to text. Now, how many of you use Siri? Don't say it. Okay, yeah. How many of you use Alexa? Okay. How many of you are using the new ChatGPT chat conversation modeling? Okay? Now, the way that the experience will change, it'll be very different to our digital experience to what it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago. Now, ChatGPT started maybe 2 years ago or so. A year ago, it kind of just got all the hype. Everybody's got excited. OpenAI got absorbed by Microsoft, and they're injecting a lot of money into how to deliver faster. Now you've got, for free, the capability to talk to a large language model. I call mine Samantha. I don't know why, but I just didn't want to talk to Siri. I didn't want to talk to Alexa. I personalized my experience. And not only that, I can go from my chat conversation, and because it keeps the context, then I can go back to my laptop and continue the interaction. So it's going to be a very blurry way of how you can actually interact with your digital products. We got a lot of the kind of meta products, or even when you look at Apple with their virtual reality, there's something else that we don't even know how we're going to be able to interact or validate with that. And this goes back to the way that I was thinking about when I was working and testing my text messages, to then moving to, okay, how am I going to be able to test a mobile device, to how am I going to be looking at those digital experience, digital twins, AI components, and so on. Technology will continue to change. Technology will assist us into the process, but quality will remain the same. So I had a bit of a play around with some of the capabilities of AI. And I thought, well, there's also visual validations or visual aspects of how we interact with AI. So in here, I just asked this, can you make a manga image of myself? I don't know, I did a poor job. It didn't close my eye. That's definitely a different tree that I have, and I don't see any curtains in my background, but maybe that one does. I wanted to remove the tree, so I asked it, can you remove the indoor plant from the image? Now, how many of you think the test pass? Yeah, okay. How many think the test fail? Oh, you guys are shy, come on. Really? Okay. So for the ones that pass, for your perception, it took the tree out, right? Yeah. I only asked, can you remove the indoor plant from the image? Yeah. For the ones that fail, why did it fail? What's your sentiment around that? Sorry? It zoomed in. It changed the background. It changed myself, right? It completely changed the image. But it's a perception, right? Still, it's an image of myself without a tree, right? And what we'll see is that there's going to be volume of data that will be deterministic and not deterministic. Like, if you've been in the talks today, you would have heard that a lot. Now, to bring the concept of data and understanding data, I created this really fun sentiment. Well, I didn't create it. I just went into a blog post that told me how to create a sentiment bot and then how to try 2 different models. So in here, I have my sentiment bot where I ask, I feel quality engineering will change in the next 10 years. My name is Alejandro, and I want to analyze it. It gives me a really, using this Dilbert-based uncased model, and it tells me that it's a very negative with a confidence of 53%, right? Okay. I'm asking the same question using the name Happy. Not that I'm trying to make that happy, but it uses a different model altogether, and it gives a sentiment of positive with a confidence of 47%, right? What you will see is a lot of these large language models will have different data, different information that is fed into it to do the same task. In here, it's asking for the sentiment. Is it a positive sentiment? Is it a negative sentiment? So what is expected for the language model or for the LLM is to give me a score and tell me how I feel. But each model will have a different data that says, yeah, it's all right or it's not. So it will become very undeterministic when you're looking around testing AI and understanding how the sentiment comes out. You'll need to understand bias. We look back at, for example, when I was talking to Samantha, how does she know if I'm angry or sad today? Is she going to pick up my tone? I don't have a strong accent. I don't think so. But other people might have stronger accent. Will it understand what it says? There's lots of different permutations that if you think as a quality advocate, you're not going to be able to create the data to do that because unless you take acting classes and can perform different accents, or even think around all of those permutations. So it goes to a little bit of the talk that, of the panel discussion around how we're going to observe and how we're going to be able to look and make analysis once we go live with a large language model on an AI capability, how we can absorb data, make decisions, and then turn it on and off if it's working or not. So, the exponential complexity of what AI brings and the tools that are going to be brought into the market is all around, can they support the solutions of tomorrow? Because a lot of what we see is they're supporting the solutions of yesterday, but the solutions of tomorrow will change. Can the test be deterministic? Because we're comfortable with deterministic, right? I want to be able to do A and get B. I want to be able to read a requirement and get my test cases and maybe explore a little bit, but I want a deterministic result. Will it still be that model? And how can we deliver at the same speed with the amount of complexity that is in the new models? So, because I know that we're getting towards the end, I know that everybody's feeling a bit sleepy. So, how many of you have Meta devices or like VR devices? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Has anybody gone to one of those rooms where you can put the VR and experience like a roller coaster or something like that? Yeah, a bit more? Okay. Now, once you immerse into that reality, did it feel real to you when you were going through the process? Yeah? Well, it was all about how to interact with your emotions, interacting with you to make you believe of something, of a behavior, right? So it's still, it is a sentiment. I think I'm going to say it how many times? 3 times? There we go. It's all about customer sentiment. It's all about ability for us to support and sell products quickly. It's all about how does backend support. That still hasn't changed. Doesn't matter the technology, that still hasn't changed. You still need to bring value to customer faster. Like the times is just going to continue to be faster. Times 2, times 3, times 5, doesn't matter, it's going to be faster. Digital experiences will still be key, at least for us in our generation. Innovation and disruption still impacts the way that you make a decision. And AI is an escape, so still is going to impact you. But how I see quality in the future. And Lisa took my words on her panel, so yeah. It's going to be more of a scientific method. Yeah? It is going to become a science. It's going to become having deterministic, not deterministic, and making a decision of information. You're not going to need to look into how to create a test, but how to give a set of criteria, get information, and then make a decision based on risk, like Adam was mentioning, and said, am I comfortable to go live? Am I not comfortable to go live? But even once it goes live, how am I going to be able to react quickly to those behaviors or to those changes, and how I can manage it? And still, customer sentiment and adoption will become key. It will be all around how many of you are change from Optus to another network after the issue, well, the 3 concurrent incidents they have with data privacy, networks, and alike. I changed networks. Maybe not all of them. I diversified, not all the eggs into one spot. So there will be occasions where something will work or not work and make you do a decision. But it will be around understanding and testing your hypothesis and working with a team to be able to minimize risk. So my conclusion is quality still is a very human part of technology. Quality is not objective, it's subjective, because everybody, each of you, have a different sentiment to how you buy a product, how you consume a service, right? And what you expect from those services. Some people will also be impacted by their surroundings, and that will impact how they do things. but it will still be a human action and interaction that is required to understand quality. So the way I envision quality is more us as individuals getting assisted by infinite amount of technology, of sensing, and we will need to make that decision and be able to make that conscious decision as individuals to help others. Now, I'm AJ from DevOps One. Thank you for today. Okay. So, I'm thinking, should we ask the past, the present, or the future? What do we reckon? Any? Just finish. All good, all good. So, if I look at the present, if we remember those times, what will be the times of enterprise changes that will happen? Yep? 14. Well done. Thank you. Congrats. And again, Cams, thanks again for having me. Thanks again, everybody, for coming into our rainy day. And yeah, we're looking forward for Testing Talks 2025.